Gary Oak, Ash's original rival in the Pokemon anime. Oftentimes, players who play the original Pokemon games named their rival character after him, thinking that Gary himself was in the games. But as they grew older, they came to know that was in fact another character, parallel to Gary by the name of Blue, and that Gary himself never actually appeared within the Pokemon games. So I wanted to ask, what if Gary was in the Pokemon games? What Pokemon would he have? And what would Gary's in-game Pokemon team be? What's going on, guys? HybridHero here. Though Gary and Blue are both snobby and snarky brats, we would all love to see Gary appear within the Pokemon games. Being Ash's original rival, he had a significant place within the anime and within our hearts that always makes us excited when we see him return. And it'd be even more exciting to see him within the games. Of course, Gary is a reoccurring character, so we're going to be constructing various different teams for him, depending on the game and region that we're in. Gary has majorly appeared in the original series, so mainly within the Kanto and Johto regions, but he has appeared in the Sinnoh series as well, so teams for those three regions will be fairly easy to build. It's the other 5 that become a bit of a challenge, but I think I have a way to tackle them. Starting off with this Kanto team, it's a no-brainer to have Gary's Blastoise as the main Pokemon on his team. Squirtle was his first ever Pokemon, and even claims Blastoise to be his favorite or strongest Pokemon. You can even say it's similar to Ash's Pikachu as a powerhouse Pokemon that Gary will always have with him. And because of those reasons, I think it's safe to lock Blastoise as the ace Pokemon for each of Gary's teams in this video. And yes, I obviously do love the fact that Gary owns a Blastoise. Gary has been known to catch quite a number of various different Pokemon, but only a select few have been shown. But among the ones that have been shown, I think it's safe to say that Gary would indeed have Arcanine on his Kanto team. Arcanine is one of the strongest Pokemon from the Kanto region, and at the time, one of Gary's strongest Pokemon as well. It being a fire type also covers for Blastoise's weaknesses, and vice versa. In Johto, Gary was shown to have owned a Scizor, but we never saw him with a Scyther. I know it's kind of a stretch to assume this, but I'd like to think that Gary did in fact own a Scyther in the Kanto series, especially when it was known for catching many different Pokemon, and I would like to put Scyther on his team. This is because his manga counterpart, who also goes by the name of Blue, had a Scyther as his main Pokemon, who later became a Scizor. So I thought Gary owning a Scyther in the games could be a nice callback to the manga. Next we have Nidoking and Nidoqueen. Gary has both the fully evolved Nidos, and they've both proven to be powerful in their own right, so I think it'll be cool to see him use one of them on his team. But since I don't know which one to pick, maybe they can be version exclusive to their respective Kanto games, like Nidoking on his team in red, and Nidoqueen in blue. One Pokemon that Gary has owned, but we have never really seen him use, is Alakazam. Alakazam was also seen briefly during the Silver Conference with a bunch of other Pokemon on a website with Gary's Pokemon data, so it didn't really appear in Kanto. But, come on, you know Alakazam's a perfect fit for Gary. Blame it on Blue if you wish, but I think the Pokemon is perfect for him. Finally, though it is another ground type, I think it'd be cool for Gary to have Golem on his team as well. It's another trait evolution Pokemon, which is always cool to face off against in red and blue, and it kinda just shows off that Gary has really gone out of his way to catch many different Pokemon. And I think that's kinda what this team shows off. It's a bunch of powerful Pokemon from various different places in the Kanto region that show off both his strength and commitment to going out and catching them all. So that was his Kanto team. What about his Johto team? Well, let's see what Pokemon we're keeping. Among the Pokemon on this list, we'll be keeping Blastoise and Scyther, who of course will evolve into Scizor, which means we only have spots for 4 Pokemon left. But without question, Umbreon definitely has to be on this team. Gary's Eevee, which later evolved into Umbreon, was kind of a staple for him in the Johto saga, and it later even became a Pokemon that traveled along with him wherever he went, similar to his Blastoise, so it's a no-brainer to include Umbreon on this list. As for the other 3 Pokemon, well, obviously it doesn't have to be exclusive to Johto Pokemon, but I'd like to maximize on them since we're here in the Johto region, and Gary is only known to have 3 other Johto Pokemon, Houndoom, Skarmory, and Kingdra. All 3 of them have only been seen on the Silver Conference website, and not seen anywhere else. And since we only have 3 spots left, they fit perfectly into the team. Houndoom and Skarmory are Dark and Steel types respectively, and though Gary already has both of them, facing Gary in the games with this team might make the battle feel as if he's emphasizing on the new typings and additions within the Johto games, which could be really cool. And with Kingdra, we're again showing off the evolutions from Kanto to Johto. This way, Gary's really showing off all the new evolutions, additions, and typings of the second generation. Moving on to Hoenn, things have gotten a bit different here, as Gary has become a Pokemon researcher. The only two Pokemon he'd be carrying with him at this point will be Blastoise and Umbreon, but we can also add Aerodactyl onto this list. Aerodactyl wasn't a Pokemon he caught, but it was one that he befriended while beginning to get into Pokemon research around the Hoenn saga, so I think it works. He also used a Dodrio around this time, but I think just adding Aerodactyl will be fine. As for the other 3 slots, I was thinking about adding the fossil Pokemon to his team to signify Pokemon research, but we could also add Casper and Kecleon on his team. I know, not exactly the strongest Pokemon to add, but what to do. The guy moved on from being a trainer to a researcher, so it's important that his team reflects upon that. And seeing how these Pokemon are both somewhat significant in the games, and both their mechanics revolve around their habitats, which is what Professor Birch studies, I think they're both welcome additions to his team. For the final slot in his team, I was thinking about 2 different options. Either the Hoenn fossil Pokemon, each of them being exclusive to one version of the game, or Absol because, I don't know, it's the disaster Pokemon. It shows up in the opening of the anime, it appears in the main story of Mystery Dungeon. It's always been somewhat significant, you know? And I do feel as if Gary could own one, or wish to do research on the Pokemon. It seems very fitting for him, in my opinion. From now on, we'll be going forward with the research theme for Gary's teams, with the exception of the 3 Pokemon that Gary will be carrying with him all throughout: Blastoise, Umbreon, and Electivire. Gary owns an Electivire that actually beat Ash's Pikachu in battle, and the battle is kind of what inspired Ash to even travel to the Sinnoh region. These 3 Pokemon are the only 3 Pokemon confirmed to be on hand with Gary throughout his travels. And yes, Electivire is probably only there because we last saw Gary in Sinnoh, but he did bring it to battle Ash in Kanto, so I'd like to think that he's carrying it around with him wherever he goes. Paralleling Electivire, we can also give Gary a Magmortar. Pokemon evolution is what Professor Rowan studies in Sinnoh, and seeing how Gary owns Electivire and has been shown to own a Magmar, it wouldn't be too surprising to see him pull out a newly evolved Magmortar. It makes sense with his anime team and fits the research build as well. For his last 2 slots, I have 4 Pokemon in mind: Drifblim, Spiritomb, Rampardos, and Bastiodon. I think Rampardos and Bastiodon are self-explanatory at this point, but Gary has also helped us some Shieldon in the anime as well. I would love to give Gary Spiritomb cause you really gotta do some research to get the Pokemon in the game, but Spiritomb seems to be a Cynthia exclusive, so we may have to put it aside. Drifblim on the other hand is a very nice addition as it fits right in with the research theme, and it's a Pokemon you can only find at the Valley Windworks. Research happens there all the time, and I can totally see the battle with Gary happening there itself, giving it all the more reason for Drifblim to be on his team. The final slot could in fact be dedicated to the fossils, and again, have each of them be version exclusive. All of these new additions fit the theme of research, so I'm quite happy with it. Moving on to Unova, we have the generation with the most number of options for new Pokemon, but we only have 3 spots to fill out from now on, as again, Electivire will be with Gary throughout the rest of the teams. And you know what? Oddly enough, despite the number of options, I think there are 3 Pokemon that fit the team perfectly. Obviously the fossils are there, and Caracosta and Archeops are both very cool Pokemon, but I think Klinklang, Darmanitan, and Sawsbuck are the Pokemon for his team. Starting off with Klinklang, Klinklang was a Pokemon that was mentioned by Professor Juniper within the Black and White story, for just recently appearing within the Unova region around 50 years ago, so it sounds like a Pokemon that Gary will definitely be doing research on. Darmanitan is on the list for a similar reason. Juniper was there to show that the Zenmo Darmanitan statues are actually real Pokemon, and you know, it's quite a phenomenon, and one that seems to be exclusive to the Unova region. So again, I think it would pique Gary's interest. And with Sawsbuck, this one makes the most sense out of all of them, because there's a whole institute and research lab on Deerling and Sawsbuck in the middle of Unova. There's no way Gary's missing out on that and the season-changing Pokemon. So yeah, Klinklang, Darmanitan, and Sawsbuck. I think with his previous additions, this gives him a pretty well-rounded team, if I do say so myself. Next up is Kalos. Everyone was expecting Gary to show up in the Kalos anime, since Blue is known to have some sort of connection to Kalos, and cause he keeps saying bonjour all the time. But you know, he didn't show up. But if he did show up, I think he would have been doing some research on the fairy type Pokemon. Cause, you know, it was a recently discovered Pokemon typing and all. Among the fairy types he would have, obviously Sylveon would be the best pick. But he already has Umbreon, so instead of Sylveon, Florges might be a solid option. It's powerful, and Floette is a part of the main story, so why not let him represent that somehow with Florges on his team? Vivillon's also another Pokemon that I can see catching Gary's interest because of all the unique forms that it has, depending on the location it's from. There's a different one for every part of the world, and I think that's more than enough reason to make his team. And of course, we can't forget about the fossils. And I personally really love the fossil Pokemon from this generation. Again, we'll make them version exclusive, Tyrantrum for X and Aurorus for Y. Not gonna lie, this Kalos team was a little difficult for me to come up with and find reasoning for. Not really a powerhouse team or anything, but I think the next team will more than make up for it. With the Alola region, I think there's one Pokemon that fit Gary's team better than any Pokemon in the Dex, and that Pokemon is Silvally. If you remember the 7th generation games, there were supposed to be 3 type Nulls that were made. One was given to you, and the other was given to Gladion, but the final one never showed up within those games. I think it would be cool if Gary was there in the post game with the synthetic Pokemon, cause who better to own the last one than the grandson of Professor Oak? The other grandson. I was considering giving Gary either Minior or Lycanroc for research and poetic reasons respectively, but as a researcher from Kanto, he has to have an Alolan form on his team, and I think the most fitting one would be Alolan Exeggutor. Not only would it be hilarious to see Gary with one, but I think he would genuinely be most interested in Alolan Exeggutor and its massive height compared to the short Exeggutor in Kanto. And finally, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I think Gary should own an Ultra Beast. Hear me out. We can't be the only character to own an Ultra Beast in the games when there's a whole team of people catching them to save the Alola region. What if Gary was one of the people who joined the International Police disguised as a professor? Or what if the International Police just needed someone to do research on the Ultra Beasts? When you have wormholes opening up out of nowhere, Gary is bound to be there. Again, Naganadel is probably the best bet for an Ultra Beast on Gary's team. But Ash. So, I think the coolest one will be Guzzlord. See, Nihilego, Naganadel, and Guzzlord are the only standalone UBs. Every other UB comes in a version exclusive pair, so among these ones, the one that makes the most sense is Guzzlord. And can you imagine how cool it would be if he just pulled out a Guzzlord out of nowhere? If we had to pick a counterpart pair, I think Buzzwole and Pheromosa would be the best bet. But still, I think Guzzlord would be amazing and hilarious. And this team just screams Professor to me. So again, I'm happy with it. When it comes to Galar, I think I'm going to make 2 exclusive teams. One team entirely for Sword, and one team entirely for Shield, because there's a lot of exclusive things in this game, and I think it'd be appropriate to make Gary's team this way as well. And the way I'm going to do this is simple. First of all, Applin evolves into either Appleton or Flapple by being exposed to either the Sweet Apple or Tart Apple respectively, which is a somewhat unique evolution method that would pique a researcher's interest. So Gary can have Flapple and Sword, and Appleton and Shield, considering that that's what they're exclusive to. Next, obviously we have fossils, but very unique ones this time. I know there are 4 different options, but I think we'll stick to the quote-unquote weaker duo, that being the Arcto duo, as the Applin evolutions already give Gary a new dragon type. Of course, Arctozolt and Arctovish both have similar typings to Blastoise and Electivire, but hey, what can you do? It's not that big of a deal if you ask me. We'll keep Zolt and Sword and Vish and Shield. And of course, how can we go about the Galar region without giving Gary a Galarian form Pokemon? And to make it even better, Galarian forms that have unique evolutions in the Galar region. Specifically Surfetch'd and Sword, and Cursula and Shield. If I'm not mistaken, these guys are counterparts to each other, but even if they're not, they come from the 1st and 2nd generations. Both had weak pre-evolutions in older games, and are fighting Ghost-type Pokemon respectively, which are somewhat opposites, so it works out pretty well. Especially since both of them are pretty strong. This team really emphasizes on the uniqueness of Galar, its Pokemon, and their unique evolutions, and makes for a very vibrant and interesting team. But if you ask me, my favorite team from this video has to be Gary's Unova team. I'm very happy with that one, because that really does scream research to me. I know. I can already tell the research is gonna be a meme on this channel. Let's just hope that it's not the Jiraiya kind of research meme. Oh man, that's gonna be bad if it is. What did you think about the teams I made for Gary? Did you agree or disagree with my choices? What team is your favorite from the batch? And what team would you have made for him? Let me know. That's gonna be it for this video. Next up, we'll be taking a look at all of Anime Brock's in-game teams. And chances are, from here on out, all the videos will be much shorter, considering that the rest of the anime cast don't have too many Pokemon with them. But still, be sure to stay tuned for the rest of the episodes. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit or punch a like or dislike button, comment down below your thoughts and opinions, and subscribe and hit the little bell icon if you want to stay up to date with all my content. Take care of yourselves, have a wonderful day, and I will see you over on the next video, alright? Later.